Harry was eager to begin the anti-dementor lessons Professor Lupin had promised him.
What's wrong? That cat's got it in for Scabbers. I swear I heard me say that Scabbers was in my pocket, and it went for him. Anyway, where are you going?
The History of Magic classroom on the 4th floor. Professor Lupin sent me a note. He's going to teach me how to fend off Dementors.
That sounds fascinating. Can we come along?
Can't see any reason why not. Let's go.
I solemnly swear that I'm up to no good. Welcome back to WaterparkRanger's Let's Play Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. In the last episode, we beat the boss of the Carpe Retractum challenge, and in this episode, we're going to be doing the part that I couldn't beat as a kid when I played this game, no matter how hard I tried. And due to repeated playthroughs of this section over and over to try and understand it better, I think I finally realized why. I'm going to probably have to do some explaining about the challenge beforehand before we go into it, because there might not be enough time for me to explain it while we're undergoing it. But first things first, what I want to talk about is when we were at the Lost and Found board, I checked it by pressing A rapidly to make us get the next quest early, and I'm going to go for it tonight. It's actually outdoors on the grounds. Now that might sound strange because normally the grounds are locked and you can't go out there, but for some reason, and I don't know why, on the third night of this game, in the entrance hall, the lock that's on the door leading to the grounds is mysteriously just gone, so you can go out there, and I was very happy and pleased to see this. They went ahead and made special animations for night and everything, and even gave it its own music, despite the fact that you almost never have to go outside of the castle at night. I mean, you actually do go outside of the castle, I think, on like the last night of the game, but by that point, winter's cleared up. So the fact that they have a winter-night combination that you never have to go to unless you're absolutely curious to explore it, that's really cool to me. And it looks nice, too. I'm not going to be speeding up our passage to where the Lost and Found item is, because there is something I want to talk about, and it's going to be what we're going to do this episode. I want to talk about it at length, and talk about why it was so difficult for me as a kid. We're going into a challenge chamber, which is... It should, by all rights, be shorter than all the other challenge chambers, but the truth is, depending on how you do it, it can be the longest part of the game. Because it's a puzzle that, to this date, I'm still struggling with the explanation to how it's rightly done. You're using Carpe Retractum in it, and you only have Harry on your side. And I've had so many varying runs of this dungeon. Like, I was trying to, for the recording for this LP, I was trying to get through this dungeon after I did the test run, and I was recording it again, and during the test run, it went perfectly well, and I got through it really quickly, and I was like, wow, I guess I just sucked at this game as a kid. But then I tried recording it again for the LP, and it was ridiculously challenging. Like, no joke. All the Wiggenweld potions that I brought in were used up. Every single one, because Harry was just getting hurt so much, because I was having the hardest time trying to solve the puzzle, and I was just getting attacked the whole time that I was solving the puzzle, and literally, I ended up using every single Wiggenweld potion. Now, in this recording, I probably will only have to use like 1 or 2 potions at most, because I figured out how to get through the puzzle quickly. And it's all about how quickly you can solve the puzzle. Like that, depending on how quickly you manage to solve the puzzle, that will depend on how many Wiggenweld potions you need to use up. Just to be on the safe side, I would recommend you stock yourself as full as you possibly can. I've got 7, it wouldn't hurt to have 9, because if you lose all your Wiggenweld potions, chances are you'll have to do the challenge chamber from the start, and nobody wants that. So here's the Lost and Found item, the telescope. After we've got this, I'm just going to speed ahead on the way back. That way you don't have to watch the same walk twice, because it's pretty self-explanatory on how to get back. I've also put some very fitting, wonderful winter music from a game that I really like, so here you go. We are here on the 4th floor. One of the things about this part of the game is it's really good at like setting a certain mood. It starts off with you in your dormitory, then you're outside in the snowy area around the castle, then you're kind of like back in the castle, in the History of Magic area, going to a room you've never quite been in before, and this is where it gets really crazy.
Ah, Harry, I see you brought your friends. The spell I am going to try and teach you is called the Patronus Charm. It conjures up a Patronus, a kind of guardian that acts as a shield between you and the Dementor. What I want you to do is to go in there and bring back the spellbook containing the Patronus charm. You will face a boggart, a creature that assumes the form of the thing you most fear, which for you, Harry, is that of a Dementor. Good luck.
Like that part where you're going down the hallway to that classroom, just the setting and the mood for it really reminds me of the way that the first Full Metal Alchemist anime set the mood, if you've ever seen that. Like, the first Full Metal Alchemist anime is just not as good as Brotherhood, but I'm glad it exists, because the things that it did right, it did really well, and it set, like, this really ominous mood. And knowing what I was going to face when I was heading into this challenge chamber again, when I was playing this game, I was like, oh god, this is the calm before the storm, isn't it? So what I would recommend is you have Carpe Retractum set on Y and Wig and Woe Potion set on X so you can use it at any time. The run that you're going to see in this LP goes really well. That's because when I tried to record it for the LP, it went disastrously, and I learned from my mistakes on my second recording. Now, this room, it's just sort of ominous. It's got 4 statues that might be the 4 founders of Hogwarts, but I don't think so. I'm not, like, entirely sure. I'm not entirely sure. So after you put down that switch, it opens up a thing that you can latch onto with Carpe Retractum. And that Carpe Retractum thing that you can latch onto will actually face your direction. Like, wherever you are in the room, it will keep turning so it can face you, and you can grab onto it from any angle. Like, most of them, that's how they're supposed to work. But you're going to find that they're a lot more finicky than they appear. Now we need to set this thing right in the switch up ahead to open the door. It all seems pretty simple and self-explanatory to this point, right? It's ridiculous how much it changes as soon as you step into the next room. Like, everything's different. This is the room I hate the most in this game, easily. When I was doing my first run of this, it took me about an hour. You'll see this done in about 8 minutes or less. Just look at this shit. You've got this big grid of Carpe Retractum targets that go up and down and they're really finicky about when they appear or don't appear, and 4 switches that Harry is going to have to reach. I do like those warehouse lights at the top, really nice touch. But as soon as you grab the first one, just shit hits the fan. It's ridiculous. This just gets crazy. And this is why Doxies aren't my least favorite enemy. No, they only get second place. Because the worst enemy in this entire game is, as you guessed it, the Dementor. Now, I know this is a boggart, but no, it's a Dementor! It's a Dementor in every sense of the word. This is the most Dementor-y Dementor you have to face off against in this game. I absolutely loathe it. It chases you across this place where you're trying to use Carpe Retractum, and you just have to run. There's no way you can fight it, obviously. There's no way you can slow it down. All you can do is hope to stay ahead of it by grabbing onto these things with the imprecise targeting, and even then you're at the whims of whether or not these targets even appear or not. And sometimes, and this, believe it or not, is why it took me about an hour the first time I recorded this, and I had to use all my Wig and Woe potions. It took me that long because they just refused to appear sometimes. Now, you see how this one just chose to appear randomly now? I had no idea that they would be able to do that. Oh yeah, if it ever, like, starts sucking out your soul, shake the control stick to break free of it. It's weird. Sometimes it, like, saps your HP, not at all, and sometimes it just takes away almost all your HP. It's really finicky. But yeah, did you notice how that one target, like, didn't appear at first, and then suddenly just did? That's the only one in this entire challenge chamber that I've seen act like that. And because I wasn't expecting that one to just pop out, like, a little bit later, I assumed that it would never appear unless I did something else, so I was just zipping around the room trying to find another way. But no, you just have to stand there and awkwardly wait for, like, 6 seconds before it appears. All the other targets, either they aren't there, or they are, like, as soon as you get to another platform. But except for that one just, like, you have to wait for it, and it makes no sense. And honestly, me not knowing that that one target would behave in that fashion made it so I couldn't get to that switch, and I lost all my Wig and Woe potions trying to figure that out, and by the time I figured out, you had to randomly wait there for 6 seconds to get it to appear. Then I solved the puzzle. But it screwed me over completely before that point. So I'm just telling you that for your benefit. If you're ever wondering, like, why you can't get across to that switch, it's because you have to randomly wait for that target to appear. That is pretty much the crux of this puzzle. Like, once you've got that, everything else more or less falls into place, assuming that you're quick enough to avoid the Dementor, which by this point I am, because I've just gotten better at this game. When I was a kid, it was just so much harder to get past the Dementor and to keep ahead of him, but these days I'm a lot more quick about latching out to the next target and just moving and going, and not sticking around to try and aim precisely. You've just gotta... You really gotta get a feel for the way this game's targeting works, because surviving this challenge chamber hinges entirely on, like, figuring out how to grapple yourself across quickly. Also, sometimes you can also just hope that the Dementor's AI gets stupid, which it will sometimes just be. The Dementor tends to grab you most of the time and just try sucking out your soul when you're not either pushing a block or currently latching across to another target. Like, those are periods during which you have seeming invincibility. I've had moments where he's tried to suck out my soul while I was, holding on the edge of one of the platforms, and it actually just drops Harry off the cliff because he gets hit, and that can kill him. So you really want to be careful about that, because Harry can easily die by falling off a cliff in this room. Like, this is an obnoxious room. That's just all there is to it. You've got to get to the four corners. I wish that there was a pattern that you could follow that would get you through reliably, and maybe there is. But so far as I know, you just have to kind of hope to be lucky and just play intuitively. Like, be ready to improvise as necessary, heal if you need to. I've been doing a fantastic job in this recording, but remember, it's like, so much of it is luck-based, and just remembering that there's one target that behaves differently from all the others. What's also weird, and you probably noticed this, is that one of those platforms randomly exploded as we were grappling away from it. And I think perhaps the reason that it does that, like, perhaps the reason that the target on that platform behaves oddly is because that platform is also programmed to explode. Some of these platforms will just explode after you're done using them, and, like, it should make the maze more simple, and maybe it does. But for the different playthroughs I've done of this challenge chamber, the platforms that explode just tend to vary from time to time. Also, because I took too long to grapple onto that one, we're going to lose HP. That's just the luck of the draw. After you get all four of those switches, get to the far side of the room and grapple onto the new target that appears. Just don't get lost in the maze of grapple targets. Just get out of it as quickly as you can. Fortunately for us, that went by pretty easily, and now we can just move on to the next room. Or we could be grabbed from like a mile away by its soul-sucking attack. Yeah, that's great. That, my friends, is the worst room in the game. Now all we've got to do is defeat the Dementor, and fortunately that's a lot easier to do than dealing with its shitty puzzle in that previous room, which I made look easy. Trust me, folks, it's not. Sometimes it seems near unsolvable. It's all due to your luck and intuition. I'm actually going to do this next fight without commentary, that way you can get the full effect. Just enjoy it while it lasts. It's really cool.
Got it! The Patronus spellbook!
Mischief managed.